Jimin's eyes couldn't lie. When Jungkook sang, the world fell silent. That night was different from the nights before. In the middle of a desolate military sky, in the barracks where the soldiers live their days full of discipline and distance from the outside world, a simple farewell event was held to release some members who would soon return to civilian life. No grand stage setup, no colorful spotlights, just one microphone, one acoustic guitar, and the one sound that made the entire barracks seem to stop, Jungkook's. But it wasn't just her songs or vocals that were the highlight of the evening. All eyes were finally on one other figure sitting not far from the small stage, Park Jimin. His body was upright, but his eyes, the eyes were glazed over from the moment the first note was chanted. The event was supposed to go on as usual. A few remarks, a speech from the commander, the presentation of memorable gifts, and a little entertainment. No one expected that Jungkook, who usually doesn't want to attract attention in the middle of a formal situation, would actually ask permission to contribute a song. He said that this song is not just for the friends who will go, but also to someone who's been walking with me for over a decade, although now we wear the same uniforms and have a day away from the stage. The atmosphere was suddenly quiet. Then, as he began to pluck his guitar strings and sing the song, acoustic version of Still With You, the room seemed to stop moving. At that moment, Jimin couldn't hold back his tears. It's not an explosive cry. He didn't look down or wipe his face excessively. But those eyes which have kept so many stories, struggles, wounds, and loves in silence can no longer hide all the emotions that spill out without words. A soldier sitting not far from Jimin whispered to his colleague next door, "I didn't know she was crying because of that song or because of who was singing it." Meanwhile, Jungkook, who seemed to be holding back from the beginning, continued to sing with his eyes closed. But when he arrived at the last verse, he opened it. And he saw it, Jimin. That face, those tears. A small smile remained even though his cheeks had become wet. There was a moment of silence. A moment that only the two of them understood. One last high note is chanted. Jungkook's voice sounded a little shaky. Maybe it was because of the cold air, or maybe it was because he was singing not just from his throat, but from his whole heart. After the song was over, the whole barracks stood up. Some soldiers, even commanders, gave long applause. But not Jungkook. He just put down his guitar slowly and stepped towards Jimin. No hugs. No loud applause in style. Just one simple gesture. They looked at each other, and in that look, a conversation seemed to be going on silently. Jimin smiled faintly and nodded slowly, as if to say, "I heard it, and I know it's for me." And Jungkook replied with a quiet glare, "I'm still here. I'm staying with you." A few days after the event, rumors began to circulate in the fan community. A family of another soldier shared pieces of the story heard from his son about how deep the meaning of the song was that night and how the whole barracks became soft in an instant after Jungkook sang. Even some staff admitted it was the first time in a formal military event someone sang to the point of making all the audience fall silent in an atmosphere of emotional silence. To make this story even more evocative, one of the instructors had time to write in the book impressions internal messages, photos of which eventually leaked to social media. I don't know who he is in the outside world. But that night, soldier Jungkook sang like someone who was making a promise to someone he protected so much. And for Jimin, who has been known to be strong, cheerful, and full of warmth, the night unravels another side of him that is rarely seen. It's not idle. He's not a superstar. He is just someone who looks at the most important person in his life and is not able to lie through his eyes, because behind all the calmness that he showed during training, behind all the smiles and professional attitude, there is a sense of longing, admiration, and maybe a love that can only be understood in silence between two people who understand each other long before the word is spoken. Since that time, many soldiers say that the atmosphere in the barracks has changed. Not lighter, but more human. Jungkook and Jimin continued to carry out their duties with full responsibility. But all who saw them knew something had changed that night, something that can't be said. But it can be felt. Army, when it heard the leak of this story, immediately made the hashtags #JiminEyesDon'tLie and #WhenJK Sings the World Stops viral globally. They make fan art about the moment of the evening, write poetry, and make short songs on TikTok as a form of respect. One of the poems of Army International was even shared thousands of times. He sang, "The sky held its breath." He watched as silence fell like snow. Between the chords and quiet tears, two souls said what no words could show. After a farewell night in the military barracks, it became a hot topic of conversation among soldiers and ended up leaking to the outside through stories that circulated by word of mouth. The emotional atmosphere left by Jungkook and Jimin continues to make an impression. But not many know that the night does not end just like that. There is a deeper and more personal continuation, a moment after everyone returned to their respective barracks, after the lights went out and the world fell silent again, around 2300 hours that night. When the majority of the soldiers had gone into the dormitory to rest, two shadows were seen coming out of the main building, Jungkook and Jimin. There is no full uniform, just military casual wear and a thick jacket to ward off the cold. They walked slowly towards the back of the complex, towards a place that was not too bright, a small field used for physical exercise in the morning. That's where they sit. Just the two of us. Not much is known about that moment, except for one soldier who was on night patrol duty and watched from a distance. He admitted that he did not hear their conversation, but from the gestures and postures, it was clear that that night they were not just talking. According to him, Jungkook sat with his knees bent, both hands in his pockets, and looked up at the sky, while Jimin sat with his arms crossed on his chest, then slowly leaned his head against Jungkook's shoulder. No hugs, no tears, only silence, meaningful, and after a few minutes, the soldier heard Jungkook's voice again singing a verse from the song he had performed on the stage earlier. But this time very slowly. It was almost like a murmur, as if it was only for Jimin, as if the song no longer belonged to the world, but to both of them. The lyrics sound vague. "I want to be with you. Even in this moment, I can't hold you close." Jimin, whose eyes had looked tired after crying, smiled slightly. And that was the moment he finally said something, a phrase that became a story that spread among the barracks. "I never knew that a song I've heard all this time would be more painful when it was sung directly to my face." The sentence is piercing, because for Jimin, it's not just a song. It was a reminder of all the time they went through. Together, separated, then together again in situations they never imagined. The song contains memories, promises, gratitude, and wounds that they never talk about directly. Jungkook just looked down. But after a moment's silence, he turned his head and said, "I don't sing to make you sad. I sing to let you know you're never alone." That night the sky was clear. No clouds. But the atmosphere between them was heavy like a storm. Maybe not because of conflict, but because all the flavors are buried for too long and never given a place to come out. And when the song played, everything collapsed. Not with a scream, but with tears. A few days after that, Jimin wrote something in his personal notebook, which later became known because it was caught in an internal military documentary video. On that page, in his characteristic handwriting, he wrote, "Sometimes the most honest voice is not the loudest voice, but the sound that came when everyone was already silent and you sit with people you trust." That night, I heard it all. While Jungkook, who usually doesn't like to write long, apparently uploaded a short sentence on their digital military page, "The heart cannot lie," but only certain people can read it. And the army later found out fragments of this story through pieces of soldier stories, uploads codes from both, to Jimin's handwriting that was immortalized by the staff, start assembling them like puzzle pieces that eventually form a whole narrative. That Jimin and Jungkook, behind all the glitter of the entertainment world, it remains two young people who find the quietest place in each other. Now, every time the army listens to the song, "Still With You," they no longer hear it the same way. Because the song has come to life again, not on a grandiose stage, not in the midst of millions of spectators, but on one cold night in a South Korean military barracks, where two hearts talk to each other silently.